Hey guys, so in today's video I picked up this Mercury 6 horsepower 4-stroke. I got this motor actually as a trade-in towards another motor of mine that I worked on. This motor is very clean. It does need some general maintenance done on it and some other minor things. But other than that, the motor is very clean. So what we're going to do is a spark and compression test as usual. Make sure the power head is healthy, and then from that we'll go on to the general maintenance stuff that we need to get done. If you guys have been enjoying the videos, please smash the like button down below, as it does help me out a lot, guys. It keeps encouraging me to keep making these videos for you guys. And please subscribe so you guys don't miss any content in the future, because I'm going to be releasing a lot more footage of outboards and other motors in general in the future. With that being said, guys, let's jump right into a compression spark test and let's see how healthy this power head is. So I had over just about 105 psi on the one cylinder. Something to keep in mind, usually this power head I had it closed all the way. I was getting a smaller reading. So when you're doing the compression on this, make sure you open the throttle body all the way to so the carburetor is open, so you're getting maximal airflow into the cylinder so you get a proper reading. Otherwise you'll get like 50 pounds and that won't be correct. So for this cylinder I had about 105 in this. So let's see what the spark reading comes out to, and that'll tell us if we have a good power head. Okay, so now we got the spark tester all hooked up. All we want to see then is a good solid spark on the top prong, and if you have a good solid spark there, then we have a good power head. All we have to worry about is the fuel system and the other general maintenance. So let's see if this engine has good spark. And you guys can hear it sparking. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the engine does have good spark. I can see a good solid spark between the top prong. Hopefully you guys can see it. But the engine does have solid spark on the top cylinder, or on the single cylinder. This is only one cylinder engine. So we have good spark and good compression. All we have to worry about now is the fuel system and other general maintenance. So let's pop off the carb and see what's looking like in there. And just so you guys know what I was talking about, when you're doing the compression, if you do this and have it towards the turtle, which means that the butterfly is completely closed, you'll get improper reading on compression on this engine. Most engines in general, if you have the throttle closed, you won't get an accurate reading. So what you got to do is open all the way up. That allows the butterfly to be open all the way up, so maximum air flows out to go through, and that's going to give you an accurate reading. Otherwise you'll get like 50 pounds or something weird if you have it closed all the way. If you don't have it open all the way, improper reading, and you'll be confused and you'll think you have a bad power head. But reality is you just need to open up the throttle, and that way you'll get an accurate reading, and therefore you'll be able to determine that it's a good power head. So to take off this carburetor, we're going to have to do a few couple of things. That includes removing some of these fuel lines. So of course remove this top fuel line, this bottom fuel line, and then you're going to pop off this bolt, pull off the choke linkage. If you pull the choke, that's how it chokes. Pop this bolt out, and then you'll be able to slide this out. And then after that, you'll pop out these two bolts on each side, and you'll pull it out. And then at that point, you're able to then take the carb and pivot it out to get this out of the throttle, and then after that the carb will be off the engine. Let's pull this carb off. Let's get up on the bench and do a tear down, and then let's see how dirty it is, and then we'll go from there. That's basically how you guys take off these carbs. Not too bad, but these smaller engines are pretty easy, and they're pretty good motors to practice on. So if you guys are looking to work on some outboards, these smaller outboards are perfect beginning motors to work on until you get used to working on these. Let's take off this carb and let's get up on the bench and do a teardown. something to keep in mind, guys, too. There is a Phillips head that you can put on these to get out the one on the inside to make it a lot easier to get out. So you just have to break it loose, and then you can use a screwdriver to pull this out. And then just like that, guys, the carburetor is off. You can see it's a really tiny carburetor. So let's get it up on the bench and do a little tear down on it, make sure it's all clean, and then after that we'll reinstall it. Okay, so we got the carburetor on the bench now. Let's break this open and check out what's going on inside, make sure it's all clean, and then we'll reassemble it. Okay guys, so I got the carb fully disassembled. As you guys can see, they're very simple carburetors, so there's not a lot to them. But also you can see that this carburetor is really clean on the inside. I'm probably just going to do a quick carbon choke cleaner spray. Just clean it out really quick. I'm probably not going to throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Just going to spray it out and then throw it back on the engine. I'm sure it'll run fine. So let's get this reassembled and let's get it back onto the engine. So after spraying it all out and getting it reassembled, the carburetor is ready to go back onto the engine. So we got the carb all back together. I hope that was able to show you guys a little bit of how to put these back on. But I'm just gonna kind of just go over it one more time. So basically when you're putting these back together, I usually put the air filter, then the carburetor, and then the two gaskets, and then there's a spacer in between. It's like a plastic piece. So put them all together and hold it in your hand. And as you're going in, you need to put on the throttle first. So what I'm talking about, you need to put this throttle back on. So you need to come in on an angle, put that in first, and then you can line it up, and you'll start this one first. And once you get it pretty seated, you know, obviously you have to like kind of hold it together. You can then push the bolt through where you think it's got to be. And when you guys have to tighten these, obviously you're at an angle. That's why they give you these Phillips heads. You can also get it out with a wrench. It is kind of a little hard. It's pretty tight up in here to get it out. But basically what you do then is when you come in, now this won't be here when you're doing this, but essentially you're coming at an angle. So I don't know if you guys can see that, like this. So the bolt's straight this way, but you have to come on an angle like this in order to get these in. So what we're going to do now, guys, is drop the lower unit and do a water pump change. So what we're going to do is shift the engine into reverse. What that does So we're going to have to spin the prop at the same time to shift it. So we shift it into reverse. And what that does is exposes this hole. There's a brass fitting in there that has this bolt in it. What we want to do is loosen that up, and that is covered by this. So that it's this. What's interesting about this motor, it's exactly pretty much the same as the Yamaha 5 horsepower I did. So if you guys haven't seen that video, I'll have it linked for you guys. Go check out that video. But what's going to happen then is that's going to expose that. You loosen that up, and there's a bolt underneath here that is a 13 mil, and then you have a bolt up here that's a 10 mil, and this is also a 10 mil. So shift the engine to reverse, pop that first, drop those 2 bolts, and the lower unit will come off. So let's drop the lower unit and let's get it onto the bench, and let's replace the water pump. Now that the lower unit is removed, we're going to throw it onto the bench, pop the housing, and do a water pump change. Now that we successfully changed the water pump, what we're going to do now is clean up the shaft, get all this dirt and this grime off, and then re-grease the splines, and then what we'll be doing is reinsert it back onto the engine. So as you guys can see now, it's all pretty clean now. The whole shaft is pretty shiny, and also the shift linkage. So what we're going to redo is just grease a little bit here and reinstall it back onto the engine. Okay guys, so now that the loader unit is all installed, what we're going to do is shift the engine and make sure it shifts into all the gears correctly. So right now I shifted it into neutral. Should be in neutral, which I am. Shift it to forward. And it locks into gear. Back to neutral. Spin the prop same time. Shift it into reverse and locks it into gear. So that the engine does shift nicely, what we're going to do is the general maintenance. That's going to consist of changing out this fuel filter, changing out some of these hose clamps, spark plug. I'm going to do an oil change and gear lube, and then after that we'll test run the engine. Look at this filter. It was like crushing. It's a good thing we're going to be replacing this. Thing we have to do, guys, just before we run it is replace this fitting with the actual OEM fitting that's supposed to go in there. So it usually has a bolt, and what it does is it bolts in right here. There's a little hole, that's where the bolt goes in, and it's nutted. So we're just going to replace this so it has the actual OEM Mercury fitting. After that, we'll throw it in the tank and test run it. So let's replace this. Let's get into the tank and primed up and test run the motor. So we got the fitting all on, and this is what it ends up looking like. So it should be on there pretty good. So it is. So what we're going to do now is stick it in the tank and test run the engine and see if we have to dial it in at all. And then after that, we'll do a lake test. So let's get it in the tank and fire it up. Okay, guys, so we got the engine into the tank. It's going to be the first startup for this engine. So I got the system all primed up. No leaks so far. So let's fire it up and let's see if we have to dial it in at all. So the engine doesn't sound too bad right now. It's pumping really nicely. You can see it's a good solid stream of water. So that's what you want to see. It's a good sign. No leaks anywhere around the engine. We'll look around. No leaks. Sounds pretty good. Right now I have it at the turtle. Just want to make sure it doesn't stall or anything. If you close it all the way, there's a chance that you could kill the engine because you are closing the butterfly all the way closed. It doesn't sound like it's going to kill this engine right now, as long as you have the idle set pretty good. But if I increase it a little bit, the engine does speed up. And it pumps a very nice solid stream. And it does go into gear. It did kick up a lot of water, so I'm not going to do it without me holding two hands. But the engine does shift really nicely into all the gears. What I'm going to do now, guys, is just let it idle for about 15 minutes. It doesn't stall or anything. What we'll do is take it over to the lake and do a lake test on that. And after that, we'll just detail the motor, and that'll be the end of the video as usual. So let's let it idle for a little bit, make sure it doesn't stall at all, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, so the engine's been running for over 15 minutes. We'll kill the engine and make sure it fires up really nicely, and we'll go from there. After that, we will take it to the lake and do a lake test. So let's pull the kill switch, make sure the kill switch works, and refire it and make sure it fires up nicely. So the kill switch does work. Install it back on. Now the engine, now that it's warm, it should just be one pull, because once the engines are warm, they should almost always be one pull after that. So let's make sure. Engine does fire right back up. So what we're going to do, guys, now is take it over to the lake and make sure it does well onto the lake as well. So we're going to do a full lake test on this and then a full detailing, and that will be the end of the video. So I'll see you guys over at the lake. Okay guys, so we made it out of the no wake zone. So what we're going to do is see what this thing can do at the top end speed. It fired up really nicely and came off the trailer good, so I'm sure it's going to run fine. But let's just see what this thing can do on the top end speed. Come back down the idle, the motor should install, which this motor does not. Shift into neutral. So it's not the fastest motor in the world, probably going about 5 or 6 miles per hour, but I mean, this is a good motor for like sailboats and stuff like that, or just a cheap motor to get on the water with. So it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it certainly runs really well. So what we're going to do now, guys, is just keep running around the lake for a couple hours, and then we'll just come back with the engine stalls or anything like that. Okay guys, so we've been out here for a couple hours. The motor's been running great. What we're going to do now is just pull the kill switch, make sure it still fires up nicely. So let's pull the kill switch. It kills the engine. And it fires up nicely. I barely even have to pull it to fire back up, so that's what you want to see. And it pumps really nicely. So what we're going to do, guys, is head back to the dock, get it back onto the trailer, and we're going to do a full detail on this motor, and after that, that'll be the end of this video. So I'll see you guys back at the dock. Also, so you guys can see, they did take out the docks on my lake because they do drain this lake. So what I have to do now is beach it up onto the beach, and then I have to then put it onto the trailer. But just so you guys know, there is no more docks in the lake. So we just detailed the motor and it looks really nice. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please smash the like button down below, as it does help me out a lot, guys, and it keeps encouraging me to make these videos for you guys. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss any more content in the future. It's gonna be the end of the video, and I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.